Hey friends, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Beyond Sunday. My name is Sochia. I'm one of the pastors here, and this year in 2026, we are hearing acts of God stories. And today we get to hear from Mo. You ever feel like what you're doing or your place where you serve or your career, like you're not making an impact and you never know like the hearts you're touching or the lives of the people you're impacting until later in life? Well, this is one of those stories that speaks directly into that, and I hope it blesses you. Well, Mo, thanks for sitting with me, brother.
Absolutely.
You doing good?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for
Yeah,
having me.
yeah, man. I'm glad you said yes. I read your story. I think it's encouraging. I think it's one that will touch many people and speak to many people. They probably experience what you experience. Would you just let the folks know what you want them to know about yourself and dive right into your story?
For sure. My name's Mo. I'm currently in my master's program for special education. I worked at a high school right now doing behavioral skills
Mm-hmm.
work. Yeah, I grew up in the foster care system. I've worked with over 200 foster care students as going through the system. I was adopted at 13. And so, yeah, I mean, God's had just a huge impact on my life of where I was placed in the foster care system, but also what the work that I do.
Yeah, it's awesome, man.
Yeah.
To know, now knowing your story now,
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
knowing what you're about to dive into. You didn't share that piece with me in
I
the
didn't.
story, so go. Yeah.
Yeah, no, yeah, so the story that I shared, it was a wake up of, am I really fulfilling the acts that I should be? Am I doing the work that I need to be doing?
Career wise, right? Yeah.
Career wise, yes. Which ultimately also led into me feeling if I'm doing that work with my family as well. Because career wise, if I feeling like I wasn't doing those acts, that seeped into like, am I being a good father? Am I being a good husband?
Hmm.
So I struggled with that as well. But yeah, I think the story and how it ended, ultimately was just God had his hand on it,
Hmm.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what happened?
So I was a property manager straight out of college. I had a buddy who coached basketball at Crown College, which is a college in St. Bonifacius. He came to me the first year and he's like, "Hey, I want you to come." It just wasn't the career move for me then. I still recruited for him. So a lot of the girls on the team that I recruited. The next year, he's like, "Okay, let's stop playing around. Let's have you join the staff."
Yeah.
So decided to join the staff, and it made such an impact on my life of joining the staff that I decided to make the full move to working at Crown full time as well. Um, Getting to know the girls and getting to know all of my students that were there. I was the multicultural coordinator there. So I did a lot of things with diverse students and school population wise. And so it came, there were a couple decisions. The coach that had hired me decided to leave and go to another place, so I had applied for the head coaching job. I had been there 2 years, 1 year officially, 1 year unofficially, where I was just recruiting and coaching. And they ended up going with another coach, which completely understand. He had 8 more years than I did in that conference,
Hmm.
which hurt. I mean, I had recruited almost 26 girls, and so I mean, it hurt. And but I was like, okay, God, like, am I supposed to be here? Like,
Yeah.
that was the first transition of, am I supposed to be here? Am I doing the work that's fulfilling enough? So decided, prayed on it, decided to stay another year.
Yeah.
After that following year, I hit a crossroads. The head coach and I just decided like he wanted to go another route so he could kind of start his process. I think there was a lot of people associated the program with me and not him, which I understand. I was there before him. I had all of the insights and outs. So he decided to go with a different coaching staff. Completely understood. And then that kind of is where it took a turn where the girl stopped talking to me. I lost the passion of like what I was doing.
Hmm.
And that hurt because the girls on those teams, I not only recruited, I have been there from freshman year, some of them high school. My kid, who's 3 now, grew up in that school with
Yeah.
those girls. So they were, when he thinks basketball, those girls were the ones he thought of. And so it was really hurt. It hurt that like it was like, okay, did I not fulfill those acts that I thought I was?
Yeah.
Um,
So the lack of like that relationship with them or them not speaking to
Correct.
you more made you start
Doubting.
doubting
Yeah.
the impact when you were there,
For
right?
sure, because I mean, these girls were, I mean, all my students, I had students in my office from 8 a.m. till 5 p.m. every day. Some of them sleeping on the floor until their next class, others playing Among Us in my office, where I had 8 or 9 students in a very, very small office, to then going from that. But then after they found out I wasn't coming back, that went from that to 1 or 2 students in my office that weren't even associated with the team.
Yeah.
So yeah, that doubt definitely crept in.
Hmm.
And so then it got to the point where it's like, okay, is my work at Crown fulfilling enough to where I'm making an impact on students' lives? And I just didn't feel at that time that I was. I just felt isolated from what I knew to be. And so yeah, it hurt. It was a struggle. And then like 3 months after I decided to leave, I was talking to my wife, but then I went downstairs and I think I was playing Madden or something, and I get this text message from one of the girls that was on the team. And so a part of my role as a multicultural coordinator, I had to do trainings for students on diversity. And so during this training, I did this story, of a single story. And if you ever have time to go look at it, just look up the story of a single story. Phenomenal story. But it's virtually about how one story could shape your mindset,
Mm.
but it could be a different story from somebody
Mm.
else. And so the person who was giving the TED Talk was talking about how she was from Nigeria, and the only thing she knew about like novelties and books were predominant, in her words, predominantly white women with blonde hair, to then find out, well, you could be a princess with not that.
Hmm.
But the danger of a single story is that that's all you know, because the only books that she was getting were those books.
Mm.
And so I equated that to life, like the
Yeah.
danger of a single story. If I only know you as coach, well, I'm also a husband, I'm a brother, I'm a son, I'm an uncle. So coach is not my only identity,
Yeah.
just like student is not their only identity.
Right.
And so we talked about that. And so 3 months after giving that, I get a message from one of the girls on the team that I had been really close with. Just all communication stopped though after I wasn't coming back. And she texted me and was like, Coach, I just want you to know, like, I apologize, but also I want you to know how impactful your message on that single story was from me. I started branching out, I started reaching out to other students, and I just wanted you to know, like, paraphrasing, oh, like how important that message was to me and how much it shaped my life and has changed my life. Um,
Mm.
I wasn't expecting that at 9 p.m. I also wasn't, that's like, was like, whoa, like, okay, maybe I did have an impact at Crown more than what I was thinking. And then a few days later, I get another message from a very random student saying, Coach, this is so and so. I got your number from this person. I just want you to know, a group of like 30 students or 25, it might have been, that we played Mafia tonight, which is a game that I regularly
I love
played.
Mafia. I
Oh,
play all the
Mafia
time.
is
Yeah.
huge. I mean, it's huge. I love it. I love it. And so
I
they
don't like being a townsperson.
see,
It's just
and
sitting
not many
around.
people do, but I mean, and even, but even then, they showed me a whole different side of Mafia
Oh,
where they added like 4 or 5 new members. And so she's like, we all played Mafia, and that Mafia turned into 3 hours of us talking about how impactful you were on our lives, which was huge to me because, again, my biggest thing was, did I do enough? Were my acts of staying up till 1 a.m. helping students get through their finals, or even if it was just paying for meals, of like, hey, I see you're hungry, like, money is not something we're going to talk about when it comes for me to feed you.
yeah.
You need some food, let's get you some food.
Yeah.
You need a drink, you need my office space to just relax and shut the door, it's yours. Like, I
Yeah.
can go work outside. And so I, to me, it was really hard to see that those small things had an impact. But then to get that message from a student that I had maybe met once or twice, was super impactful to my
Yeah.
life, and just made me think, like, okay, like the acts that I did were enough, and that was God's subtle way of showing, like, I hear your hurt, I hear your pain, and here's me telling you you don't need that hurt or pain. It's kind of how I took that. So
That's really good, man. That's
yeah,
really good. To be able to reflect and recognize God was showing you something,
for sure.
something you needed,
At
like
the moment,
in the moment
absolutely.
to bring you peace, probably some joy,
That's very much so.
satisfaction. I'm like, man, okay, I was doing what I was supposed to be doing,
Yeah,
because man, the seed of doubt that the enemy plants can we water it with our feelings and emotion. One little
100%.
seed, all of a sudden, it goes down this rabbit hole, and he was very, very intentional about letting you sit in that. But then, like, boom.
Yeah,
On top of that, it wasn't just one conversation. We had a whole game where we just stopped playing Mafia, and
yeah.
everyone was talking about it. So
Yeah, and
praise
that and
God.
that to me was cool. Where it's like, okay, like you intentionally reached out to me with this story, which is very impactful because even just that Mafia game,
Yeah,
like some of them had never played before, but to hear students actively went and did
yeah,
that, to then hear about that turned into just stories of how it impacted their life is huge,
yeah.
and that's why you do the job.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, money is a factor, but if I could change one person's life
Mm-hmm.
any given day, I'll take that over money all day.
Yeah. And
Um,
to be honest with you, the reason I invited you here was because you brought up Mafia. I don't care. That's
Yeah, I
kidding.
know. I get it. Hey, Mafia is a fun
I
game. Like
read
it is that
I read
game.
that, and I'm like, I know what he's talking about.
Yeah,
No,
no, it's
but
such a fun game and it can bring so many people. Like I can't there's countless stories of that's how actually I wasn't like brought back to God, if I'm being honest. Played college baseball at Bethel.
mm-hmm.
And one of my really good friends, Connor Malcolm, he was like, "Hey, this is one thing we do. You should just come." Like because I played basketball at Bethel as well. I was struggling with that, just mentally, emotionally. He's like, "Dude, just come. It's super fun." And that was like, oh, dude, I want to be on the baseball team
That's cool,
from
man.
Mafia.
Right.
And that led to 5 years of Mafia playing and baseball
And
guys
growing in your faith.
and growing in my face. I mean, some of my closest friends are baseball dudes
Yeah.
that I would have never met if it wasn't for
Mm-hmm.
Mafia.
That's so cool,
So,
man. Well,
yeah,
thank you, brother. Thank you for sitting here.
absolutely.
Bless you. Thank
Absolutely.
you
I
for sharing your
appreciate it
story. I know it's going to impact many people.
for
Um,
sure.
yeah, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of Beyond Sunday. We'll see you next time. Peace.
Thank
Peace.
you.